Sarah, it's so nice to be here with you. First things first, we are here for the Whistler Film Festival, so we have to talk about Prodigals. Amazing movie. Tell me about your character, Jen.
Thank you, first of all. When I first read Prodigals, I think I was immediately drawn to the script because I grew up in an incredibly small community, like 200 people. So I was immediately drawn to like that feeling of what it means to stay at home versus to leave. And because I moved away when I was quite young, but I'm from Newfoundland and I go home every summer. And I have a lot of friends who have lived their whole lives there. And then I know a lot of people who've left as well. And I just think, I think it's a story that really looks at um, the conflict in both, whether you stay or whether you go, and what happens to those very dear relationships, and what time can do in terms of fracturing. Relationships so I love the character because I think she's sort of our window into like setting down roots, but also feeling settled versus unsettled, and all those things.
You do have a little bit of a conflict, as in, without giving too much away, you're happy to stay. Part of you probably wants to go, and did want to go before before it took too long. Yeah. Along with that conflict, there's David Alpay's character, and his conflict with what to be there for.
Yeah.
You are one of those main things. Why do you think he chose the avenue that he did?
I was actually having a big conversation about this last night with someone who wasn't a part of the film and saw the film, and he was saying, like, wow, that without giving anything away, he makes it like quite a like a very course altering decision at the end of the film, and I think not to like be presumptuous, but I do think my character has a lot to do with it. I think the sort of rekindling of everything he knew in the town has a lot to do with it. But I think there's a huge. I think the story is kind of like I want to say Shakespearean, or sort of like one of the classic Greek stories in a way of. Even though it's set in Sault Ste. Marie and is quite an indie film, and a modern story, like I think there's a real reckoning that happens with his character, and like this coming to terms with like this huge moral responsibility, and in taking responsibility for some of his actions, he ends up like, uh, you know, kind of entering that world of huge sacrifice too, and like it all kind of just crashes together in this decision that he makes. Yeah.
It's true. It's like a love tragedy story, and you're saying, it's this little indie film, but here it is at the Whistler Film Festival. It's making huge waves, and to sit there and watch it, it doesn't by any means feel like a little indie film.
Oh,
Like
I'm glad.
so much work must have gone into it, and your acting process. Can you take us through it a little bit? How did you get into the role?
It's funny. It was 2 years ago, and yesterday was the first time I've seen it. So I was like, oh, whoa, yeah, okay, crazy. I think, yeah, but it was interesting remembering, what a tough cookie Jen is, and I like that about these characters. There's not like there's a lot of quirk in the film and there's a lot of humor in the film, but they're not soft people in any sense. I was like, oh yeah, these are all really tough, like depictions of these people, and I loved the film because I felt I cared about all the characters, but I felt really frustrated with them. And I always, I want that from a film experience. Like I want to feel conflicted by the characters and their choices. So I think it just really mattered to me that Jen really be her own woman, and that none of her scenes or her character arc feel obviously Wesley has a huge impact on everything that happens to this character in this story, but I didn't. It's. I mean, I'm a feminist, and I always want my characters to be existing completely in their own world and their own choices, even though they need to serve what the story at hand is. So I never wanted Jen to feel like, oh, okay, she's a part of this story because there needs to be an ex-girlfriend, and that she needs to be the driving force that way. So I approached this character thinking about a lot of women I know in small communities who've decided to stay and to set up, to just, they're on their, what's the right way to word this? Like they're. I think for some people there is no grand decision of whether to stay or go. And I feel like there's like a salt of the earth quality to Jen, where it's like, yeah, I live here and I'm making it work.
Yeah. And every decision you made, whether it be, go with Wesley or, push him away, it was the decision that Jen herself made. It wasn't, she didn't let him impact that at all, which was really cool to see in a movie these days.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad because, and that was really important to Nick, the writer, to Michelle, the director, to me. So it was amazing being a part of a team that we were all so on the same page about how we wanted this story to be portrayed and these people. We just really wanted them to be real people. And I think the film really succeeded in that.
I agree. You can definitely be on the same page as each character. And even when it comes to the court case, you're sitting there and you're like wavering back and forth between should he be convicted or like you're trying to figure out, and you're like, I never in a million years would I have thought that maybe he's innocent.
Right.
But maybe he's guilty.
And I think like one of the really cool things that the film addresses, cool things, prominent things, really an important thing is especially any time in history, and it's coming up right now in multiple ways, of who deserves a second chance, and what is the line, like where is the line where we go, okay, we understand, we don't understand why you did what you did, but we believe that, you are a good person in there. And I think this film it really addresses that issue. And David Kaye is like so good. He plays Benny, and he is so. Like he's so bright and full of life and such a great actor, but he's so not that person in reality. So it's like really fascinating watching him in the film, and it's such a pivotal role. And I think that role really encapsulates like, God, when do we? Yeah, like what is the line for a second chance for many of the characters as well, for Wesley as well. So.
Mm-hmm. And you still, even once the film finishes, you're like, what's he going to do? Mm-hmm. How's this going to turn out for him? Yeah. Obviously, the film is doing well. You're at the Whistler Film Festival. I can only imagine that it's going to do bigger, better things. It's going to go on for quite a while, I think. You're very welcome. 2017 has been quite a busy year for you. Mm-hmm. You've been all over the place. We saw you in War for Planet of the Apes, which is awesome. Let's talk a little bit about Vampire Diaries.
Oh, yeah, because that show, I know, I keep remembering, like, that show actually finished up this year, which is so weird to think.
Because you were done a while ago, right?
Yeah, and I got to go be a part of the finale of the Vampire Diaries, which is nice. We had a big party. We had a big, fun party. And it was, it's always great to reconnect with all of those great folks. That was, I mean, what an era. Mm-hmm. That was like really, it's been interesting for me because I've worked on a few series since then, and yeah, the storyline has just been, it's been such a grand spectrum.
I was gonna say it's got a huge following, and you go from a series like that to another series that has. It started off with a book following and then a film following, series of unfortunate events with Neil Patrick Harris. What's it like to be a part of that?
Just like a dream. Yeah, it's so imaginative, and every department on that show is just having the best time because there's so the creative scope on that show is huge, and I've really loved playing that character. She's really fun and very specific. It's such a specific world, and that's Barry Sonnenfeld, our showrunner. He's done a lot of really great his worlds and his characters and just the tone of his shows are really fun because like you really have to find it. It's very very specific, and so it's been a great challenge to get kind of fit into that world, and yeah, the character's been a joy. Yeah.
What's up next for 2018?
I actually just did a film in Toronto with a very dear friend of mine, a director named Danishka Esterhazy, and I did her first feature with her in 2009. So I was 21. Whoa, crazy.
Seems like ages ago, right?
Yeah, and so yeah, we just did a feature together called Level 16, and it is a feminist dystopian thriller. Yeah, and it's like quite an intense story, very, very quite dark, very dark, but a parable of what women are often faced with in society, in terms of expectations, youth and beauty standards, and all kinds of crazy, all kinds of weird, and also a really beautiful story of friendship. There are a lot of young women in the film because it's about an all-girls school, and I'm the headmistress at the school. Yeah.
So again, it's one of those strong female characters that you seem to love playing.
Yes.
So nice to hear. That's wicked. So here we are. I have one last question. It's actually about your socks.
Oh, okay. I have some good sock monkey socks going on today.
Are those not like some of the comfiest socks in the world?
Yeah, they really are. And it's funny because when I was packing to come up here, like I gave socks a lot of consideration. Like I feel like it's important. Like I have all my good winter socks and my snowboarding socks.
And you're going snowboarding after this?
I think so. Yes, that is definitely the plan. I'm gonna. Oh hi. Yeah, that is the plan, is to get up on the mountain today.
Today was like, we've been here since Tuesday, so 3 days now.
Yeah.
And today was the first time that we woke up and it was like, oh my God, there's big snowflakes. Yeah. So it should be good for you up there.
I know. I had like the fireplace going this morning, and I was like, oh, perfect. Ideal Whistler conditions. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, have a great time.
Thank you. Thanks so much for chatting with me.
Of course.